It's a Saturday afternoon and we're down in my workshop. My workshop is actually looks more like a laboratory than a workshop, but it's it's such a mess I'm not going to show you the rest. I know all of your workshops are perfectly clean and everything's straightened up and the floor is clean but at least I have freshly painted walls. That's one thing. I have freshly painted walls, and as a consequence, I took the plates off the old switches and light sockets and left them wide open as they are here. It's very dangerous. The electricity is turned off, by the way. But if I was to reach in, if I was reaching for the light switch, for instance, and I happened to get my finger in here, I'd be in contact with 230 volts alternating current, which is really unpleasant. It doesn't feel at all nice. So I'm going to replace those switch and socket today. And one of my viewers, one of my subscribers, whose name I'll put in here later, asked me or mentioned it would be nice to see what the European or German sockets look like more, and I'll show them to you. That's the old kind. I won't bother showing you those anymore. They shouldn't be in use anymore anyway. These are the new ones here. This is a new switch on the left, a plug in the middle, and a socket on the right. As you see, the plug has two round pins. The socket, of course, has two round holes for the pins, and a third connector, whatever it's called, which is this. I'll show you here. This bar in the middle here, that is the ground, and the ground or earth is when you plug it into the socket, presses in against these two. There's one on the opposite side, of course, here. Yeah. And when you put this in, of course, then it grounds the socket, the plug, and connects to the ground wire. The wires in Europe are standardized. Black is the hot wire. Blue, gray, or brown are the neutral, and green, yellow are ground. Green yellow is connected to this bar here, which goes in here. This is just a cap that you put on afterwards that will go over one of these bezels, and the bezel will go on the wall and cover the openings to the in the wall. The socket looks like this. It's made nowadays, the new ones are made now, even if you got your finger in here, you wouldn't touch anything because, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's plastic here. So you can't even touch the hot part of the socket without sticking a nail or a screwdriver in it. The wires get connected just by pushing them in to these little holes here. You have to press on a plastic part that I'm pressing on right here to release the wire. You press down real hard and you can pull the wire back out again. So there are no screws, and it's very simple to connect up. It won't be quite that simple here because these old wires that are in the wall probably are curled and like pigtails, and they may be too short actually, so we'll have to see how we do that. The switch, this is a single switch. It has also the connectors. You just push in these holes here, you just push the wires into them, and it then of course has a toggle that goes over it. This one's still packed in plastic here. Toggle that goes over the front, and that fits then over this. I'll show you the whole thing when it's done. For a case where there, like in this particular one here, there are two. There's a light on the ceiling and a light on the wall, so I need two switches. So this is a double switch. And this will control one side, this controls the other side, and the connectors are the same. This is for the left, this is for the one from the back to left, this is for the right, and this is for the hot line going to the power. So these will go to the lamp, and these will go to the power. To fasten them in, there are two possibilities. One is to tighten them in with these clamps that clamp into the wall. They don't usually hold real well, although the majority of them are fastened that way. The other are with so-called, I can't remember what they're called in English, but they're screws that go into the wall box. Oh yes, I should mention that the wall, there is a plastic. There is a plastic box in the wall here, and here, and these clamps will clamp into that plastic there. However, there are also screws that are here and here. You can't see them because it's all gummed up and rusty here, and those screws can be used to tighten them in. They hold the, especially for the socket, because to pull this plug out of this socket is much more, it takes quite a bit of force, and if you wobble it back and forth like that, you can actually loosen the socket. So I use the screws on the top and bottom here. As you see, this is all very different than in the States. Our water, on the other hand, that is water pipes, are exactly the same as in the States. We use inch sizes, as crazy as that is, because of course, as everyone who has ever worked with plumbing knows, a 1-inch pipe has nothing to do with 1-inch diameter. It's a historical size. The same is true with 3/4, half, and so on sizes. They're all crazy dimensions, and the crazy dimensions have been used here just as they are there. However, with electricity, it didn't make sense to do that, because the American socket and plug would not really be adequate for the 230 here on the continent, 230 volts, 240 volts in the UK. The 50 cycle, 60 cycle wouldn't make any difference, but having higher voltage like that would make the flat pin plugs of the American style inadequate or dangerous in any case. So these are much safer. There's absolutely no way when you're connecting up a plug. I think this is true of the newer American style plugs too, but in any case, in this case, there is no way you can touch this pin and get it into there and get a shock. You have no choice basically but to get it in this way. There are ungrounded, unearthed plugs as well. I'm sure I've got one around here somewhere. On the computer there is, but I can't get to that at the moment for some reason. Well, here's something that'll show it quite well. This is a little power supply. This makes 12 volts DC, and as you can see, it only has 2 pins. It doesn't have the ground pins, and of course, when you use this kind of thing, it must not have any kind of metal connected to the current at all, neither the ground side nor the hot side. So everything is plastic here. There's no way you could get a shock and without opening it up, and the unit itself is then not grounded. These are used on simple lights and things like this, where the electricity is immediately converted to a low voltage. Okay, I'm going to, that's enough lecturing again. I'm going to replace these, and then I'll show you the final result. So please bear with me. This is the way the old ones looked here, and I'll show you the new ones when they're installed. All right, I'm going to bring you back here for a minute, because this is kind of an interesting situation. You can see what happens because of historical change. In the 1950s, when the electric wiring was replaced in this house, and of course before that time, it was not universal to have a ground wire. And later on, when it became necessary to have a ground wire, of course it would have meant running another wire through all of the conduit through the house. Well, of course, that would be very complicated and difficult to do. So what was done was, this is the hot wire here, the black wire, that's the hot wire that will go to the socket. Of course, the switch only has hot wires. These are the two. This is the one that goes to the lamp on the ceiling. This is the hot one that goes to the power, to the fuse box. And this one here goes to another lamp on the wall over here. But the thing, and what they've done is just continued that one on and down here to provide power for the socket. So the socket is powered by the same line as the light, which is normal. However, the interesting thing is the fact that since they didn't have a ground wire, the green and yellow wire, they used the gray wire here, which is the neutral side of the 230 volts. They used that, connected it up for the contact here, but also connected it to down here to the frame, which made the ground. So the ground here is actually a cheat. It's not actually ground, it's just the neutral side of the 230 volts being used as a ground. This is, it's not wrong, and it is frowned upon, but it's not wrong, and they won't make you rewire your house if it is this way, but it is completely kosher, of course. I just thought I'd show you that so you can see that because of the historical situation, I mean, these houses were built, this house was built 110 years ago. Because of the historical situation, oftentimes these kind of compromises have to be made. The old switch, and let's see if I can get down here to show you. Yeah, there. That's the old switch on the right with actually two switches in one, and the socket. This is the socket with the two pins in the middle here. It's very similar to the new one, except that the new one, like I say, is protected with plastic here so that you can't get a shock if you reach in there. Okay, there's the finished installation. See if I can bring you in a little closer there. So the switch on the right won't do anything because there's nothing connected up here. I have that wire blocked off up there. I'll put a wall lamp in there one of these days. And this one, however, should turn on the overhead fluorescents, which it does. So there you are. That's the way German wall sockets and lights. Oh, we need to check the wall socket. This is a little tester, by the way, that my father had, that my father used back in the he probably got it in 1940 something, and this, when I was a kid in the 1950s and 60s, I used it in America, and I brought it with me when I came, after my dad died, and I cleaned out the workshop. By the way, I also have something many of you will have. I have still Craftsman screwdrivers. This is the littlest one. I have a couple of bigger ones. Okay, there you are. The wall socket works, and everybody's happy, or at least I am. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, subscribing, And thank you again, everyone, for all the wonderful videos you put up. Bye.